hello everybody. I am Gulsum Wilson. I am a researcher on natural phenomena and more specific in geology for the past 2 years. And I'm also an artist. And I want to welcome you at the Domestic Science Club number 4 already, which will take you up to the mountains.
Mountains are bridges between heaven and earth, which we worship and we long for, but we can not reach.
welcome to the Motherland. So I'm gonna go now for a minute to change myself. In the meantime, you can already have a look around, and I'll be back in a second to introduce you to some new stuff I made. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's okay. So welcome again to my domestic science laboratory. So I suggest I will take you on a little tour and I explain you some stuff. Is that okay for you? So let's start here. This is Mount Ararat. It is the mountain which was and still is of very big importance for my research in geology. And last summer I climbed together with Cozy. I climbed Mount Ararat, which is nowadays located in Kurdistan. Now Ararat is the mountain where the Ark of Noah set foot after the Great Flood. So it is the place where a new life and a new earth had its beginning. And therefore, it's of a very big importance for the history of geology. The question, how is it possible that we found seashells on a mountaintop, even on the 5,165 meter high Ararat, could not be explained, could for a long time not be explained, without referring to Genesis. Anyway, actually all my life I wanted to climb a mountain, and this mountain would be Mount Ararat. And I did not, or I could not yet figure out whether I chose Ararat out of religious or mere scientific reason, or both, or what reason whatsoever. But anyway, when I stood at the top, I looked like this. I couldn't think anymore about tectonic plates and earth layers and Noah and his ark and all the other stories I read about Ararat. I fell into the arms of Mr. Super Baba, and that's the Kurdish shepherd who dragged us to the top. I cried, and actually, I did not see anything. I was overwhelmed, and especially my physical condition, who got seriously attacked by the heights. I couldn't breathe anymore, and my heart pumped like crazy, and I had a constant feeling of like throwing up. But strangely, right after this hysterical adventure, and coming down to sea level, I wanted to go straight back. And still now, I feel in my body that the heights were pulling on me. It's in my body. And this kind of longing or being pulled at took different forms during the past few months. Longing. Part 1. The irresistibility of low air pressure. The cosmical egg. So here you can put on the headphones and then listen to what's on the CD and carry out the experiment explained on the little paper. I'm gonna do it now for you. In this smooth earth were the first scenes of the world and the first generation of mankind. It had the beauty of youth and blooming nature, fresh and fruitful, and not a wrinkle, scar, or fracture in all its body. No rocks, nor mountains, no hollow caves, nor gaping channels, but even and uniform all over. But suddenly, giant angels start falling out of the sky. They educated the men about science and organizing themselves in cities. They got laid with normal women, and hideous creatures were born. According to God, the world was in a complete chaos. So God ordered Noah, a straight descendant of Adam and a man of God, to build a ark and to put all animals in it. And then God ordered a flood. The earth cracked. The fountains of the great deep were opened. An enormous amount of water sprang out. The windows of heaven opened itself, and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. On the 7th month, on the 7th day of the month, Noah set foot to Mount Ararat, and this was the beginning of new life on earth, which was now covered with cracks, caves, and mountains. Now, the reason why this egg got sucked in is due to air pressure. When the flame of the burning newspaper extinguishes, the temperature drops. Cold air shrinks, the air pressure decreases and pulls the egg to its side. And obviously, the egg could not resist. Now, as you all know, the higher we go into the mountains, the lower the air pressure gets. And this, so the higher you go into the mountains, it's true, the lower the air pressure gets. Now, the average air pressure at sea level is 760 hectopascal, and from there on, it decreases smoothly, gradually, till the top of the atmosphere. And this is very logical, because the higher you go, the less air there is above you. Now, a column of air of 1 square centimeter measured from the surface of the Earth to the top of the atmosphere weighs approximately 1 kilogram. Now, if we go higher, troposphere, higher, stratosphere, higher, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere, till my finger will fly off and free float in the universe. One can calculate the actual air pressure at any given altitude with this formula, but roughly we can say that the air pressure decreases 100 hectopascal for each 800 meter. Now, I found it very cool to talk about this kind of theory. It's sublime, but at the same time it's really comforting. And numbers are like free-floating, unique entities. And these formulas, beautiful and heartbreaking. But what if you are not in a situation where you can just drop like this all your domestic preoccupations and just like go for your longing or answer to the appel of the one who is pulling on you? How do you deal with this situation? How do you cope with this kind of longing? That's the moment when I started to experiment in my living room. And I made, you can come closer. This is my homemade DIY hypoxia tent. And I spent hours and hours in it, reading or for watching DVDs, falling asleep, and I will demonstrate it for you now. This is the way how you should wear my mobile low air pressure box, my mobile mountain machine, or my portable Mons Algia device. I demonstrate it to you. Press this button. Now with this device you can walk around and create wherever you want local low air pressure situation. So a local or your own private mount.
To them they didn't.
Yeah. Maybe come a bit closer. So you see the air pressure now is around 76 hectopascal, and it will decrease 100 hectopascal. So this means I have a mountain here of 800 meters. 100 meters. The air pressure on top of Mount Ararat is 57 hectopascal, so we have still a way to go. But I don't think it will decrease still. Now the aim is to wire this shoulder panel so you can really walk around. We can test this afterwards. Now to demonstrate you my second prototype, I need a bit of time for preparation. It's a common misconception that the higher you go, the less oxygen there is. This is not true. It's a total lie. It's not that the level of oxygen decreases, it's the pressure in oxygen that decreases. And we need this pressure to pump all the oxygen from our lungs into our blood. Now, if there is too less oxygen in the blood, our brain will give a sign to our lungs to take in more air. So we will get in more air by breathing deeper or faster, so this can cause hyperventilation. Also, our heart will pump harder to get all the oxygen to the cells, so our pulse will raise. The blood pressure will increase, and especially in the pulmonary vessels. And we will get a tendency to dehydrate. Yeah, maybe this So may I invite you for a nice glass of wine and some chips and a cigarette. I brought very nice cigarettes from Armenia. They are called massis, and this is in Armenian, it means Ararat.
You can pass it on.
Yeah, you can pass the cigarette on. Yeah, take a glass of wine, please.
Somebody wants a cigarette? Try the
Now, while we are consuming these three elements, the wine, the chips, red wine, salt chips, and smoking cigarettes, our pulse is raising, our blood pressure increases smoothly, and soon we will have the feeling of dehydration. So please don't hesitate to overdo it a bit, to come into this nice mountain mood and to stay for a while. So go ahead, there is more wine and more chips.
Ah, shit.
With this machine, you can create a mountain while climbing it. Now also here the air pressure decreases only, I have to tell you, after a quarter of an hour. But this is more realistic, no? Now these, maybe people come a bit closer. These are our lungs while we are climbing. So let's see what happens to them. Oops, not, does somebody help me? Yeah, we'll put it on the floor. Yeah, it's still a prototype. Yeah, you can put it on the floor. I can fix it. So let's see what happens to our lungs. So they will blow up, and in the end they will explode. This is the Cozy Cool Ryan corner. So let's have a seat. Yeah. Here you can listen to two Ryan songs. Yeah, there is still place in the couch. So you can listen to Koe Ryan songs. And Koe Ryan, these are songs that the Swiss use to sing their cow back to the safe stable. Yeah. Now they use it as a tool in long distance communication. In 1776, Mr. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, he notes in his Dictionnaire de la musique that at a certain point in Swiss history, it was forbidden for Swiss soldiers to sing these songs because they could kill somebody with it. It was a lethal weapon, but only their fellow countrymen. So it was like kind of making an own goal. But let's listen to this beautiful music. That was a Swiss doctor and a paleontologist. He argued that when the Swiss descend to the valleys, for instance, soldiers to fight, they come into a high air pressure situation. Yeah? Now they can get adapted to this, to living in this situation, and that's what we call acclimatization. But if they sing these Koe Ryan songs we just heard, or if they just listen or hear it, a range of physical deficits could occur, and the person in question would long to go back to his safe stable. And if he could not, death would follow very soon. Now, the case of the Armenian people, this is a map of Armenia, parts of it. The case of Armenian people is kind of similar, but it's even worse. Now, Ararat, no, I have to tell you first that the Armenians, they consider themselves as a straight descendants from Noah. So they are born on Mount Ararat. They are the children of the mountain. Ararat is located here in this circle, and it's only 150 kilometers from Yerevan. But the border here is, due to historical reasons, it's closed. So the people from Armenia, they cannot go anymore to their beloved mountain. Yerevan located 150 kilometers from Ararat, but 4,000 meters lower than the top of Ararat. And on every single corner in the street, in the streets in Yerevan, you have a splendid view on Mount Ararat. So it is as if they constantly hear this Koe Ryan song. So they try to live in this high air pressure situation, but this adaptation process is erased on a daily basis. Now, while I was traveling with Cozy in Armenia, we sometimes felt like we were traveling Koe Ryan songs, because the people to whom we told that we were standing on top of Mount Ararat, they fell onto their knees to kiss our feet. Yeah, really. But happily, nobody died. crust, lithosphere, asthenosphere, mantle of the earth. So crust, lithosphere, asthenosphere, mantle of the earth. Mountains. Are bridges. Between heaven and earth. Which we worship and we long for. But we cannot reach. So this is an exact replica of a sound box, mountain machine of Mr. Bailey Willis. And Bailey Willis was a professor at Stanford University, and he built this box to see how mountains raise from the earth. And he was one of the first one who saw that there is a vertical movement going on. They didn't know about earth plates yet, but he saw vertical movement. And in the end of his career, he came up with a, for his time, very daring conclusion, namely that this that this vertical movement it's too sugary. Thank you. That this vertical movement was due to convection streams. So the heat in the center of the earth is transported through the different layers and is then released at the surface of the earth. Now, at the same time that Mr. Bailey Willis was operating this box, but in a total different zone, even on a total different earth plate, namely in Paris, a young nun was brought in La Salpêtrière, and that's a famous mental hospital in Paris. It's also a former gunpowder factory, and by the way, it is the hospital where Lady Di died.
Oh.
Yeah. So a young nun was brought in with serious symptoms of hysteria, hyper speedy pulse, high blood pressure, and hyperventilation. Now, this young nun, she started singing one day, or we could say mowing, and she never stopped again. When she was in a total or hyper state of hysteria, her body turned into strange, inhuman forms. And in the literature, they refer to her as the singing mountain. Now, a common treatment for hysterical women at these days was actually flooding them. So putting them in cold baths for hours in a row, or giving them freezing genital showers. And although Mr. Bailey Willis, you see his photo over there, he was a very, very serious scientist. He also believed in the flood as a treatment for a world going mad, a world in hysterical chaos. You can come under this rope. This is, yeah, okay. Yeah, oh. Maybe you can do it in slow motion. So this is tectonically a very interesting movement, what he is doing. Now, what's your name? But was standing on the Eurasian plate, so you're all on Eurasia, and yeah, Japan is over there. And Belgium is over there. And for millions of years, the African plate was going under the Eurasian plate. Yeah. But now, for 6 months, the geologists, they noted that there was a pause in this movement. So they predict that the movement will be inversed, so that the Eurasian plate, as Bart did, will dip under the African plate. Now, this all takes place in the Mediterranean Sea, which is over here. So you understand the consequences? It will be big, huge tsunamis, and we are not at all prepared for this. Please come to African plate. This is the last stage of my research in geology up till now. I traveled to my own motherland. And this is the flat countryside of Herentals. Now, we have a little hill in Herentals, and this hill is called, it's very cool actually, it's called Papenkelders, which means the cellars of the Pope. It's 20 meters high, and the people of Herentals built a tower on it of 24 meters. So the whole height is 44 meters. And from the top of this tower, you have a very beautiful view on the forest surrounding Herentals. But more interesting, at the foot of this little hill, there is a cemetery. And there, Sister Romolda is buried. And Sister Romolda, she's the local saint. At the age of 34, she got stigmata. So her hysteria, actually it's clear that her hysteria didn't realize itself in an upward movement, but in deep holes and caves who were constantly spitting lava. I suppose also she had a very high blood pressure, as most hysterical women did. So the blood seeped its way out of the body, her hands cracked open, exactly as what happens in a mid-oceanic rifting zone. Now, when I was sitting at Sister Romolda's grave, I leaped into some profound thoughts, and I decided to write her a letter. Dear Sister Romolda, during my research in the past few years, it became clear for me that the mythical ground of human life is lying under the earth crust. And I have to admit that my longing for mountains, my mons algia, is actually a transparent case of nostalgia. My lifetime longing for climbing a mountain, or better said, the mountain, is clearly a sublimation in the purest alchemist sense. A sublimation of my longing for the core of the earth. The beating heart of the earth, the center of the world, is unknown and ultimately mysterious. Theories scientists formulate about the underground are mere extrapolations. my fascination for the mysteries of nature, my urge to penetrate and decipher the inner structure of matter, all these longings donate actually my nostalgia for the primordial, the original. One thing is sure, mountains are clear symptoms of the gigantic mystery which is constantly happening underneath our feet, and people in general, but actually me. I am in no condition to resist the power of low air pressure, and in extent I long to fly. I expected a kind of reply or an answer from Sister Ramona. Oh. Yeah, from my ending. So,
Usually.
but the earth remained silent. So welcome to the Motherland. And you can have more drinks and experiments as much as you want. Thank you.